US President Donald Trump says his administration is discussing new tariffs on Chinese goods by February 1st, raising the specter of a retaliatory trade war with the second largest economy in the world. Trump made that threat at the White House on Tuesday.
We're talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada.
In the same briefing, Trump singled out the European Union for troubling trade imbalances with the US and also vowed to hit them with tariffs at some point.
The European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They're going to be in for tariffs. It's the only way you're going to get back. It's the only way you're going to get fairness. You can't get fairness unless you do that.
Trump says Canada and Mexico are also on the firing line for tariffs of 25% on February 1st. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Tuesday gave a measured response to Trump's tariff threats, saying she would respond to U.S. actions step by step. She added that the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement was not up for renegotiation until 2026. The comment appears to be preempting suggestions that Trump will seek an early revamp of the pact, which underpins over $1.8 trillion in annual three-way trade. On Monday, Trump also directed federal agencies to complete a review of a range of trade issues by April 1st. That includes spotting persistent U.S. trade deficits, unfair trade practices, and currency manipulation among partner countries, including China. He also asked for recommendations on remedies, including a, quote, global supplemental tariff and changes to duty exemptions for low-cost shipments from China under $800, which are often blamed for imports of fentanyl precursor chemicals.
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship.
President Donald Trump wasted no time signing executive orders related to his sweeping immigration crackdown after taking office. They include a broad ban on asylum and sending the U.S. military to the southern border, says Reuters correspondent Ted Hesson.
There was really a flurry of executive orders last night, and some of the things even we're still digesting. The refugee resettlement program, for instance, which brought in 100,000 people last year from other countries who are refugees abroad, was put on pause indefinitely, at a minimum 3 months, but potentially longer. He took steps to move military assets to the border and empowered the Secretary of Defense to send troops as needed, but also tasked the Pentagon with supplying resources for border wall, for detention space, and for other aspects of border security. That's just one element.
Trump signed an executive order restricting birthright citizenship.
Birthright. That's a big one.
Prompting several states and civil rights groups to file lawsuits, arguing it violated the U.S. Constitution, specifically a 14th Amendment clause stating anyone born in the U.S. is considered a citizen.
It's entirely possible that a month from now, this order will be put on hold or will still be debated legally, and it seems like the sort of issue that could potentially make its way to the Supreme Court, in which case that could mean months or years of legal wrangling before we have an answer as to whether this was lawful or not.
We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy.
I think the question will be, what are they able to do in Congress? Are they able to pass through restrictive immigration laws that will be more enduring, that will be more lasting? And even budget-wise, what will the budget be for the deportation initiative? I mean, that will be a major factor in how effective it is. And, one figure that's been floated among Republicans is that they need $100 billion for enforcement. I mean, for some perspective, that's more than many government departments would have in their entire annual budget. Like the State Department was around $86 billion for a year. So I think whether they get that or not is a huge question.
Trump's critics and immigration advocates say the president's mass deportation plan could disrupt businesses, split families, and cost U.S. taxpayers billions of dollars.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced private sector investment of up to $500 billion to fund AI infrastructure. He spoke in Washington alongside the bosses of tech firms OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it. in the future, a new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Stargate will be a Texas-based joint venture between the firms. $100 billion in funding is committed for now, with more expected to come over the next 4 years. Masayoshi Son, the chief executive of Japanese investment giant SoftBank, had already promised Trump billions in investment, and Oracle chief Larry Ellison said the new project was actually well advanced.
The data centers are actually under construction. The first of them are under construction in Texas. Each building's 500,000 square feet. There are 10 buildings currently being built, but that will expand to 20.
The announcement on Trump's second day in office follows the rolling back of former President Joe Biden's executive order on artificial intelligence. That had aimed to reduce the risks AI poses to consumers, workers, and national security. Now the Stargate venture comes as the new tech demands vast extra computing resources. That is pushing demand for specialized data centers that enable tech firms to link thousands of chips together in clusters. It wasn't immediately clear whether Stargate was a new venture or an update on one previously reported. Last March, tech website The Information said that OpenAI and Microsoft were working on a data center project with the same name.
Britain ran a bigger-than-expected budget deficit in December. It was swelled by debt interest costs and a one-off purchase of military homes. That's according to official data which shows the fiscal pressure faced by Finance Minister Rachel Reeves. The data showed public sector net borrowing was $22 billion in December, more than $12 billion higher than a year earlier. It was also higher than analysts had projected. Economic and financial data has largely turned against Reeves since her budget on October 30th. The budget raised borrowing and increased tax on employers to help restore public services and investment. Wednesday's data adds to the likelihood Reeves will need to do more to meet the government's self-imposed fiscal rules. Speaking with Bloomberg at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Reeves said Britain's public finances were now in order. But she said she would continue to take decisions to meet the fiscal rules. Earlier this month, Reeves was forced to say she would act to meet the ruling Labour government's fiscal rules after a sharp sell-off in British government bonds. It includes balancing day-to-day spending with revenues by the end of the decade. It also aims for public sector net financial liabilities to decline as a proportion of gross domestic product. Reeves said on Wednesday that economic growth was her top priority. European wind shares fell on Tuesday. Investors jumped after US President Donald Trump ended support for new US offshore wind power on his first day in office. Denmark's Ørsted felt the strain the most. It lost as much as 17% as it also reported $1.69 billion in impairment charges related to the US offshore market. Analysts said the delay and higher costs for Ørsted's Sunrise Wind project were the main reason for the plunge. But one analyst told Reuters the company also flagged impairments on seabed leases which could be directly linked to Trump. On Monday, the president suspended new federal offshore wind leasing pending an environmental and economic review. He argued windmills are ugly, expensive, and harm wildlife. Ørsted and other companies have struggled to unleash the potential of the US offshore wind market. The industry's outlook has been further complicated by Trump's vows to scrap offshore wind projects as one of his first acts. Italy's Prysmian said Tuesday it will abandon a plan to build a plant in the US to make cables for offshore wind parks. It says it doesn't see a strong enough market in the US for offshore wind farms. Other European utility companies, including Germany's top power producer RWE, also traded lower, while shares in wind turbine makers Nordex and Vestas fell around 2%.